notice how the stress from yesterday's tough meeting still echoes in your body today as tight neck or just a shallow breath? Regardless of how many sun salutations you did this International Yoga Day, the true test that determines whether you feel energized and open or tired and depleted after practice is in the unconscious shapes that you hold all day long. I'm talking about the way that you sit at your desk, the way that you grip your steering wheel in traffic, or hunch over your phone and scroll. These aren't just physical habits, they both reflect your current mental state and actively reinforce it. So by fixing one small thing about the way that you hold your body, you can change everything about the way that you show up in the world. Why? Because your body is a living archive. It's a crystallized history of your past thoughts, emotions, and your daily habits. In this 2-hour workshop called The Philosophy of Posture, we're going to dismantle the myth that yoga is just about physical poses. I'm going to teach you how you can use the ancient wisdom of asana or postures to create this true lasting change both on the mat and in every other aspect of your life. But once you learn to recognize when your body is in this state of tension, you also need to know how to release it. And it's not just about stretching, it's about learning a systematic way to stretch and strengthen it. And this is exactly what I teach inside my program. There's a link for that in the description below. But before that, we need to understand how your posture reflects your mental attitude and what you can do about that today. So let's dive right in. This is going to be a 2-hour workshop, so buckle up. We're not going to do too much movement. I know you guys have a full schedule packed with movement. So I'm going to try and keep it minimal on the moving side. But I will be calling you up now and again, some demonstrations. So it's going to be half lecture, half asana breakdown. I hope it's not too theoretically heavy. And at the same time, you can take away some insights that I can then, translate into the rest of your practice and even the rest of your life. Let's start with this question. What is the goal of yoga? Anyone? Yes.
Integrate your body, mind, and soul.
Beautiful. Integrate your body, mind, and soul. That's why we're all here.
Looking within and finding myself.
Ooh, that's a nice one. Anyone else?
Just try to make myself a better version of today.
Beautiful.
The physical way out.
Like internal alignment,
Yes.
balance.
So,
Mm. Yeah. I love those answers. That's why we're here today, right? To integrate ourselves in some way and become a better version of ourselves. So there is the personal goal of yoga, but there's also the goal of the journey we're on, which is freedom, liberation, and ending this cycle of suffering. We're all suffering, and yoga is a systematic way to end or reduce this suffering. The reason we're all here is very likely because we've got some goals and some expectations of ourselves, like we've got these ideals for ourselves when it comes to our health and wellness. But honestly, really, really honestly, how many of us really, truly living up to those expectations? Put your hands up if you're actually living up to your own expectations of your own health and wellness. Yes, we've got one person. Regular student Storm for the last 2 years. Excellent. And Storm, why is that? So you don't see it as separate from what you do on the mat versus who you are in real life, right? What we want to do in these classes this weekend is to bridge that gap, to remind ourselves of how important it is to have high expectations of ourselves when it comes to our health and wellness, but to do everything that we can to also live up to those expectations, to actually do something every single day to follow that path, to be better versions of ourselves. But I do want to say, this is not a single day celebration. This is not a once-off event. Think of your health and wellness as a dynamic continuum. It doesn't start or it doesn't end. It may look like it's non-existent sometimes. It may look like it's a huge part of your life other times. But it's not a state to be achieved. It's not a thing to strive for. It's more like, this is a dynamic continuum. I do the best I can given the circumstances. Huh? So why should we bother? Why should we care? Why does this matter? If we can focus here, let's name that part X. If we can focus there, it's the one thing that creates real lasting change in our relationships, in our work, in our health, in our personal development, in the rest of our lives. So if we focus on this one thing, whatever that thing is, it then bleeds into the rest of our lives. So that's why we should concern ourselves with what this thing is in the first place. Yoga is the one thing that takes time and energy. It takes effort, lots of dedication to come on the mat and show up. But it's also the one thing that gives back to you in so many other ways. And that's why it's important that we pay attention to it. It's also an ancient system of therapy. It's been around for thousands of years, and it includes everything from developing our awareness. So actually being able to say, if I choose to put my attention on what I'm saying instead of the people coming in and going out, I can very easily do that. If I'm driving in traffic, I can tune out everything else and focus and zone in on exactly what matters. So yoga is a complete system of therapy, which includes developing awareness and control of the physical body. We're doing asanas and shapes, but also our emotions, the way that we see the world, the way that we relate to the world. And that's why it's this enigmatic thing, you know. Yoga has so many forms, takes so many shapes, it comes from so many different lineages. But all these types of yoga do one thing. They create real, lasting change. That's why it matters. So in this workshop, we're going to look at the connection between postures and mental states. We're going to explore the link between the physical body and how we're feeling upstairs here. Next, we're going to look at the role of physical postures within this 8-limbed path introduced by a sage named Patanjali. And then we're going to look at some practical asana demonstrations and see what can I do to notice this in myself. Often when we wake up first thing in the morning, this is what I call scroll asana. I'm sitting here, I wake up, 10 minutes in the morning, I'm just scrolling. Then when I'm sitting over my food, I got my phone, and then I'm eating. All of these are daily shapes that we take, but they also become asanas. They also become postures or states of being that we continuously embody. So what can we do about it, and how can we correct it in the smallest way possible? At first, I've got to introduce myself. So who are you? Sitting in front of me, telling me what I should or should not be doing with my body and mind. I'm Sushmita, but you can call me Sushi. I grew up surrounded by yoga in India. I started practicing at the age of 8, but rediscovered it only in my 20s. Personally, I was born quite flexible. People say, oh, you can do that, but I can't do that. But my journey has actually been to balance this flexibility that I naturally had with a sense of strength. So a lot of us are either naturally born flexible or we consider ourselves too stiff for yoga. So yoga helped me walk that razor's edge and find balance between these two extremes of extreme flexibility or needing extreme strength. I help busy, overwhelmed people. The reason I help busy people is because the style of yoga that I teach is called Ashtanga yoga. The founder of this practice said, Ashtanga yoga is for everyone. The rich, the poor, the black, the white, the big, the small, all shapes, all sizes. But it's not for one kind of person. Any guesses? Who is this kind of yoga not for? Exactly. Same accent. The lazy. Hear that? The lazy. So we exclude the people that are unwilling to put in the effort. Naturally, if you guys are here on a Saturday and you've made the time, you've got other stuff to do. We're all busy people. Let's admit it was a huge sacrifice to make it here, and I'm glad you made it. But I help busy, overwhelmed people. People who are not just like lazy, sitting at home like, okay, whatever.
people who actively want to progress, want to change. And I help them build a consistent and transformative Ashtanga yoga practice. I believe that only with consistency we can experience transformation. So consistent first, transformative Ashtanga yoga practice. And then this then helps them find a sense of calmness in their bodies because their breath is more regulated, they have access to the prana. Ashtanga is quite challenging, one of the most rigorous forms of yoga, and mental strength. Mental strength at its core, because this is the promise. If you do something on the mat for 60 minutes in the morning, there is some shift inside, some shift in the way that I feel about myself. And that's the link that we're going to explore today as well. And then this bleeds into the rest of your life, and you have more clarity, you have more purpose, and your life is moving in a direction that you choose. Yeah? So the reason I chose philosophy of posture is because there's these two parts of me. The part of me that took up the physical asana practice of Ashtanga yoga. I studied actually with the lineage holder of the Ashtanga tradition in Mysore in India. And also at 14, I had the chance to live in an ashram and experience a sense of being in the presence of a guru in India. And having done lots of asanas and mastered and unlocked all of these crazy shapes, I can tell you this. There's nothing in the crazy advanced asanas that isn't there in the basics, that isn't there in the foundations. And if we can look at that once more, if we can see those things that we've overlooked over the years, I promise you, you will experience transformative shifts in the rest of your life. This has been my whole life, trying to figure out how to help you guys, how to make this accessible to diverse demographics. When I first came to Africa, I was living in Tanzania, volunteering at sober houses and working for UN projects and things like that. I recognized this practice isn't tied to language. It isn't tied to ability. It isn't tied to anything. It's universal. But we individually approach it through our lens, like what we want from it, right? So you have individual goals that are different from mine. I've taught about 5,200 classes in the last few years, and I've seen many mistakes. Every mistake you can think of, probably seen it. Because I only work with a set sequence of postures, yeah? It's not like I've seen all the mistakes anyone can ever make. I'm saying within this framework that I work with, I know this thing to be true. Your body is a crystallized history of your past thoughts. I'll say that once more. Your body is a crystallized history of your past thoughts. I'm going to pause here. Who agrees with this statement? Okay, let's hear from someone who agrees with the statement. Why do you agree with the statement?
But can this thought continue into older job time? So you can have this thought into certain situations now you have the 12 drawing this out. Alternatively, you're very confident, but this thought might start that you're very confident that it will make sense about making that constant.
Exactly. We've already got people here who've been thinking about these ideas before. Anyone else agrees with this statement? Yes.
It's like not every emotion is a vibration in that it appears in the cell in the body. Definitely.
Exactly. Anyone else? Let's hear some disagreements. How many of you think that's absolute woo-woo? I don't believe that. How can your body be crystallized history of your thoughts? Your body is this tangible, physical, real thing here, and your mind is this thing up here that thinks. How many of you disagree with the statement?
I really disagree, but I do believe that your past from present.
Yeah.
But it's also give a choice.
Exactly.
You decide to be miserable, decide to be happy. You have that choice.
Yeah.
But your past does have an impact. It defines you as a person, your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses. It helps you grow.
Excellent. So what he's saying is, guys, your past does define you, but in a way you do have agency. You do have choice. You can decide today that even if your body is feeling sluggish and heavy and not like, the way it used to feel, there is something you can do about it. There is action steps that you can take to stop feeling that way. To have this notion that today is a brand new day, International Yoga Day is a great excuse to start today. But even though it's crystallized in a way, it's also malleable. It's also open to change, if you're open to change. So what? So what if your body is crystallized, like, you're just walking around as you and your past thoughts? What this means is that a posture that a person takes is a reflection of his or her mental attitude. Physical states are embodiments of mental states. It means a posture creates a feeling in you. So if I'm sitting like so, posture creates a feeling inside me. But it's also that if I'm sad, if I'm feeling low, I take this posture naturally because my body is just following the contents of my thoughts. Huh? But do you see how this is not just a one-way relationship? It's not just that the way you sit influences the way you feel. It's also that the way you feel influences the way that you sit. So have you guys noticed when you're stressed, or let's say you're at a dinner table and someone insults you, your body immediately responds. There's a tightness in your stomach, there's a shallowness in your breath, or your shoulders are creeping up to your ears. Something in the physical reveals what's happening in your interpersonal world. Now, imagine I didn't do anything about it. I didn't release it or shake it out of my body. I just carried on the next day as if nothing was happening. The fact that my body took that shape, took that position, the memory of that is almost like retained in the body in some way. And even though the next day you're not in a stressful situation, you're not around those people that insulted you, you're perfectly fine, you're driving, you'll notice your shoulders are creeping up to your ears. Your breath is still shallow. Do you see what I'm saying, guys? So it's almost like this relationship of your posture reflecting your mind, the contents of your mind, and your mind influencing the posture. The crucial thing is this third part, is that the postures reflect your mind influences your posture. But if we insert asana into our lives, if we include asana as a part of our lives, we then intercept that bi-directional flow. So asana is that intermediate thing that you put in place to rewrite the narrative in a way, to shift things somewhere internally. So everyone's clear on this cycle? We've got the posture influencing the mind influencing the posture, and asana as a method to release this conditioning in a way. But if we do nothing about it, I always like saying, what is the cost? If we do nothing about these body habits, if we ignore the fact that almost like brushing our teeth, we must daily release these stuck emotions that we're carrying around, can someone tell me what this would look like in their daily lives? What is the cost of carrying around yesterday's emotions today? Just a lot more tension in the body. Right? We exist in a state of low-level static, low-level noise that we're not even paying attention to. That tension is constantly there. And then people say, I'm stressed, give me a pill, I'm stressed, give me a drug. This is the root. If we can clear out that bank every day, if we can just not dive into that state every time we feel like something has triggered us, we can do something to intercept that cycle, we've got a practice worth doing, right? We've got something that's worth pursuing. Now let's look at the role of physical postures. Why is it important that we do it in a structured way as opposed to jumping on a trampoline or going to Pilates? What is the role of physical posture? What is the role of asana? Yeah? It does three things primarily. First is it disciplines the body. Yeah, it takes the body that's just wants to chill on the couch and eat popcorn and do chill things all the time. It takes that body and mind that has a tendency towards laziness and gives it discipline. So it gives it a kind of like banks for a river. So it creates these banks so that the river can flow easily. And it makes it supple and healthy and strong and light. So the physical discipline, first and foremost, makes us healthier, lighter individuals. Now, you can say to me, literally all exercise does that. So why should I do yoga asana? Why should I do postures? So on top of disciplining the body, one level deeper is that it prepares us for more advanced practices. Having learnt these concentration techniques, when I'm in downward facing dog, if I can tell myself, push down through my fingertips, lift my hips up, through those concrete, easily understood tasks, I learn how to focus my mind. I learn how to quieten the noise. I learn how to put my attention in a point and allow my mind to stay there. Now, these are all skills that then translate into when you sit for meditation. A lot of us try to meditate but we're actually thinking with our eyes closed. Asana is a preparation for deeper practices of yoga. Without doing asana, skipping this vast ocean of things that we can derive out of asana, we end up in a position where we're trying to do advanced things, but it's confusingly abstract. The goal of yoga isn't envisioned in the process. You're just kind of doing something to feel good. Yeah. Lastly, so we've got the disciplining of the physical body. We've looked at how it's a model for the later practices in yoga. And finally, it helps us master our inner workings. This means that it changes the way that we show up in the world. It changes the way that our nervous system is. And when we change our nervous system, we relate to the world differently. And the crucial element, difference between yoga and Pilates, yoga and gym, yoga and anything else, is that it has breath, it has prana. At its core, it's a pranayama practice and some shapes on top. It is not, I'm trying to do something forcefully, and then as a consequence of that, I get fitter, I get stronger, I feel a lot better because of the endorphins that are released. Primarily, I'm working with this layer of prana, this layer of life force energy that then shifts my nervous system. And the way that I experience the world is from my nervous system. Now, because yoga is so vast, yoga comes in all these different forms, I want to simplify it and tell you why I chose this style of yoga and what it actually promises. If I were to look at any Instagram influencer, they would be like, 4:40 a.m., wake up. 4:50 a.m., journal. 5 a.m., read. 5:40 a.m., go on a 10K run. 6 a.m., the list of things that you can do for your wellness is endless. The list of things that people can consider as like they absolutely need to do before they get started with their day. The world makes us believe that you have to do all of those things to be okay. But what I'm saying is, I didn't make this up. This was given to us by rishis, sages, passed down through a lineage, and this was literally built for people like us. It was built for the grahastha. Grahastha are people with families, with jobs, with kids, with responsibilities. Yeah? So this was first received by a sage called Vamana, and he was sitting, on his mountaintop, and then he had, these people don't write down things. They get like insights, they get flashes of inspiration. And he comes down and he writes this on palm leaves called the Yoga Kurunta, and it actually gets burnt and lost. People try to find it for thousands of years. Finally, Krishnamacharya, who is the father of modern yoga, you might have heard of his name. Krishnamacharya, who is the father of modern yoga, he was instructed by his teacher. After all of his training, he spent 12 years training, getting ready to go out into the world and teach this. And his teacher says to him, go back, but don't be like a yogi. Don't go off into the caves. Teach the people of the world. Teach the busy people. Teach the people with jobs. Teach the people with family lives. Teach the people who don't have the time to spend 10 hours a day practicing. The traditional practice, even if when I went to the ashram, was actually to spend 2 hours in asana, 2 hours in pranayama, doing japa, reading the scriptures, chanting, reflecting. And by the time you finish all of this, by the time you finish your morning routine, this will take you 10 hours to do this. Yeah? Who has the time for that, guys? We all have jobs. We all have things to do. So who has the time to do a 10-hour practice? The key innovation is that we compress all of this, and instead of practicing the 8 limbs that the sage Patanjali had given us as the prescription, this is what you do, you get liberated. Instead of doing them every single day for 10 hours, he compressed them and he made sure that we can practice them simultaneously instead of sequentially. In a moment, I'm going to show you the 8 limbs that I'm talking about, but this is crucial. You don't need a long wellness routine in the morning. All you need to do is, in a compressed format, try and practice these limbs simultaneously instead of one at a time, separately. So this compressed format meant that he had to eliminate all the funky flow things, all the 3-legged dogs. So this is where modern yoga started interpreting yoga in its own way, but they had to be absolutely brutal. I cut off any extra movement. I cut off any extra just like things that just don't do anything for me. And I keep it succinct and prioritize it in an order that creates a specific effect. Think about making a cake. You've got to follow the order. You've got to break the eggs into the flour. You've got to whisk it in a certain way. You've got to add the flavoring. If you don't follow it in this sequential order, will we end up with a cake? No, right? So that's why it's important that he carefully selected the right postures and he combined them with pranayama, with the breathing, and he combined them with mudra or internal seals to make it one single practice. So as a result, instead of spending 10 hours on the mat, you and I, luckily, can spend 2. Let's be honest. How many of us actually have 2 hours in the morning? How much time do you actually have in the morning to dedicate to your wellness? Now, before you get to work, how much time do you have? 40 minutes. 1 hour.
You make the time.
1 hour. 2 hours, good. Half an hour. Honesty, see that? We all have different amounts of time that we can dedicate to this thing. Some of us have to get it done in half an hour. Some of us are in a stage of our lives where we can dedicate 2 hours. So we need to find a way to be like flexible around this. Make it work for us and allow it to fit into our schedules. If it doesn't, then there's no point in me talking about this. This is just theory. You will close this, go home. It will collect dust in your mind and you'll forget about me in 1 month. And that's it. Yoga is again. Next International Yoga Day, Jamie will organize something. All of you will be back here. So let's keep in mind, the importance of this is that it should be relevant and easy to follow. What are these 8 limbs? What are the things that we need to put into this cake so that it actually yields the goal? Freedom, liberation, reducing suffering. Yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana. I haven't put samadhi in here because I can't talk about the end goal. But these are the 8 limbs of yoga. Sanskrit names, it's okay. Very simply, the yamas and the niyamas are your qualification, are your preparatory practices before you qualify to step on the mat. In Sanskrit, the word for this is adhikari, a qualified student. Now, a lot of times you see, to practice something traditional, hard, sequential, requires a person who is qualified. Sorry to say this, a lot of us at this point haven't qualified ourselves. This practice gives you the tools to qualify yourself, but it also checks you. It sees, have you done the yamas and niyamas? Have you actually fixed your relationship with yourself and fixed your relationship with the world? I don't mean fix in a sense of everything is perfect. I just mean, are you attending to it? Because most times when we see dips in class attendance, it'll be because life is happening. How many of you have felt like the reason I haven't stepped on the mat is because life is happening? Yeah? Because life is happening, right? It's busy. It's so much is happening. But unless we do these observances to ourselves, have a certain kind of moral conduct that we observe, this thing won't even appeal to us. Yeah? We can do something else, but yoga won't appeal to us. But the fact that we're all sitting here in this room means something in part of it appeals to us. Yamas and niyamas, qualification before you step on the mat. It's an ongoing process, but minimum, you kind of, okay, I'm ready to look at my health and wellness. That much is enough. Yama, niyama, third limb, asana. Several of these obstacles in the mind are manifested in the body, and it profoundly influences the way that we relate to the world. Yeah? So even the fact that we're not able to show up on the mat means that we're not ready yet. We haven't done those first two steps in order to look at the obstacles that are manifested in the body, in order to see this as that living crystallized history of past thoughts. Yeah? So asana is the third limb. Next is pranayama, which is breathing. Yeah? So it's extension of this life force energy. But in this practice, the reason I'm going through all of this is because instead of doing this one at a time, fixing my whole life, then fixing my relationship with my world, then fixing my body and its imbalances, then I go and say, okay, maybe I'm ready for some breathwork immersion. Huh? No. Simultaneously, not sequentially. Pranayama, within the practice, you breathe as you move as you breathe. So it's you listening to the sound of the breath, and when you stretch it long and listen to the sound of the breath, that's what informs the postures. That's what creates the shape in the first place. Then we've got pratyahara. Pratyahara means sense withdrawal. It means the world that we see that's impinging on us, we try and selectively see what we can do about everything that's entering our visual system, our auditory system, the way that we're experiencing the world through the five senses. In the Ashtanga practice, we have specific points where we gaze, and those chosen points help us fix the mind, regulate the senses. Dharana. Dharana means concentration. You've fixed your relationship with the world, you've fixed your relationship with yourself, you're showing up on the mat and making these shapes, you're breathing properly, you've withdrawn your senses, and then comes this effect of concentration. If the mind is given a single point to focus on, to the exclusion of all other thoughts, concentration is a result. Imagine the power you would have if you could concentrate at your own will. If you can wake up 9:30 a.m., I'm opening up my emails, and where I choose to put my attention, that's exactly where it goes. Imagine how much more efficient we'd be as people. We won't be wasting as much time. We won't be splitting our energy in 1,000 different directions. Dharana. In the Ashtanga system, there is a language called the vinyasa count. This awareness of the count, the concentration on the count, prevents the mind from monkeying, going here, going there, doing this, doing that. Yeah? So we've basically forced the mind, confined it into a shape right now. We're forcing it to say, okay, now I'm going to breathe in a certain way, and I'm going to keep my mind on a single thing. As a result, dhyana happens. Instead of looking at the shape as this arduous thing that you contorted yourself into because your teacher is there and everyone's looking at you, you can rather see through the shape. You can witness the shape, and you can meditate on the infinity of the shape, meaning you can see the shape, you can see that you're doing the shape in your body, but it's almost like, imagine like a drone flying and you're watching yourself outside of yourself. If you can watch yourself outside of yourself, witness each shape in that way, you're not identified with this body. You are not the person that was insulted yesterday and that feels like this. You are something else. You are an awareness that's watching your body. The goal of yoga is to achieve samadhi, this state where there's no mind and there's pure bliss. I can't comment on that because I haven't experienced it. I'm still doing asana, guys, many years. Can stand on my head, but I don't know what the end goal is. But humbly, if we can try and practice these 8 limbs within our practice, something will shift. So by assuming certain positions or asana and creating these gestures, which are these mudras or seals, you can then learn how to, at will, create a desired mental state. Let's imagine You're going to go to your work and you're giving a presentation and you're obviously nervous. I was nervous before I came here. I'm always nervous. Every time I do this, I'm still nervous. I just stood for 1 second, just stand, just to feel. Harvard psychologists have done TED Talks on power posing. And yet, we find this in our ancient scriptures as tools accessible to all of us to create strong states, to create relaxed states, and to create alert states. Think of those as 3 different effects of asanas. Yeah? Warrior 2, strong, bold, I'm holding the posture. Shavasana, relaxed, empty. Padmasana, alert, focused, aware. So imagine if I can practice the feeling before I get into a situation in real life. And imagine, guys, if you're doing this for 1 hour on the mat, you're wringing yourself through all the emotions, wringing yourself through all these powerful states, strong states, relaxed states. It's like you're rehearsing all these positive mental attitudes so that when you show up in your real life, you're not carrying yesterday's emotions. It's your responsibility, now that you know, to practice every day, almost like brushing your teeth every day, so that when you go out into the world, you've done the work. Now, again, health and wellness industry, doing the work can be endless, lifelong practice. But as far as I understand it, it consists of 4 steps doing the work. So you start off with the stage of awareness. So you understand how these mental tensions, anxiousness, fear, reluctance, hesitation, can make your muscles feel tight and rigid. I think we're all aware of that now, right? This is the first step, coming to a workshop like this and bringing this awareness to it. Now that we know, we've promised Jamie they'll come to a class, we have to put ourselves through challenging postures, through increasingly difficult positions to train our breath to be equal and steady, to put ourselves through increasingly difficult positions to still remain calm and steady. That is life. Life is a series of experiences. Anubhava dhara. Life is a stream of experiences. If your posture, when you do it, you will see this actually. I'm just giving you the theory so that when you see this in practice, you can instantly make that connection. Trembling, shaking, fidgeting, moving out of the shape too quickly. The posture, when you take it, reveals the effects of your chronic tension, chronic states. It's like a mirror. It shows you who you are in that moment. It's our responsibility to release this tension systematically. Through first, bringing awareness to it. Second, breathing into it. And third, systematically stretching and strengthening it out. You know, when you go for a massage, they pull you in all these different directions. And by the end, you're like, oh, wow, I feel fine. It's to do 3 things. Awareness, breath, posture, stretch and strengthen. That is the release. Somatic work is the release. When you release that pent-up tension, you experience transformation. You experience this for yourself. But your work doesn't end there. A lot of yoga teachers will say, you know, yoga is enough. Yoga solves all your problems. What are you talking about? Yoga does not solve all your problems. Let's be honest. It's not a cure-all solution. It's not. You probably need concurrent therapy. You probably need a more well-integrated approach. To the extent that you can take responsibility and have something that you do every day, this is what yoga does. So the promise ends here. My job ends here. After this, seek professional help. No, I'm kidding. We have to also do the other work. Yeah. So this much, there's a clear structured way. And that clear structured way is what is called the modified half primary. This is just a one prescription. Okay, this is not the prescription. If you go to a different doctor, they'll give you a different prescription. This is my prescription because I can only talk about what I know. This is what I've been taught. This is what I teach. It's a simple set sequence of postures because just being aware of your errors is not of any value. You also need to have a roadmap. You need to know what should I do, A, B, C, to fix this thing that I have. This is your roadmap. You do these postures, you equally stretch and strengthen. This is just a starting point. You can explore way more than this, but it's a curriculum. And it systematically balances strength with flexibility through sequential postures that get harder so that you master one shape and you learn the next one's more difficult, but you've already mastered the fundamentals of this one. When you get the new shape, your body's ready for it. You're not thrown in the deep end. That's why it's a progressive series of postures. It's set, so you don't have to think about it. It's a clear roadmap. And what it does is it gradually stretches and strengthens these muscles, and so you correct your postural errors. You perform yoga chikitsa, yoga therapy. Yeah? So building this strength and transformation, what I've identified through this entire sequence, primary series, is these 8 different areas that it helps with. First one, breath control, mastery over your breath. Second, leg strength and flexibility. Third, cardiovascular endurance. Upper body strength, strong shoulders. Hip mobility, pigeon pose. Balance and proprioception, being able to balance on one leg. Core strength, strengthen your core. Spinal flexibility. And the way that I've actually laid this out is that you cannot move past this if you don't have breath control. Start there. Move here. And this is a game of snakes and ladders. Yeah, you have to remember, this is not a one-time thing. When you master the breath, you've mastered it forever. There's always new things that will come up, and every day is different as well. It's like you're dipping into the river every day to see what minerals are there. You're dipping your toe into this ocean, trying to look at these weaknesses. That brings me to the end of this long speech. Now it's time to move. We're going to look at some of these shapes. I'm going to have you guys come up, and we're going to look at how it feels in each of these 8 areas. Then we're going to look at one and see how we can fix it and make it a little bit better. Awesome. So let's start with breath control. Huh? I want you guys to take a moment. We're going to close our eyes. Allow everything to settle. For the span of this next 60 seconds, I want you guys just to count how many inhales and exhales. 1 inhale and 1 exhale is 1 round. Am I able to breathe? I'll let you know when the timer begins. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's begin. Exhale completely. When you're ready, slowly and gently open your eyes. That was 1 minute of silence. Does anyone have a count of how many inhales and exhales they managed to do?
Say 19.
6. Beautiful. 6. Nice. 8. 5. Good. 6. Nice. 4. Exactly, right? So just by measuring that, in 1 minute, how many inhales and exhales are we taking? And I didn't even train you in pranayama. I just asked you to observe. I didn't say like, control it or regulate it. The yogic breath, as Max did in a minute, is around 4 to 5 is how many you should be breathing. That's how slowly you should be breathing if you want to experience the world from a rested nervous system. So this is a 6-second inhale and a 6-second exhale. Yeah? We want to stretch the breath or lengthen the breath to that degree, where in normal, waking, regular life, it's slower. The cost of breathing more is that we're almost like breathing only from our chest, really shallowly. And I want you guys to identify these two states as I breathe. Identify this state. What is that state? Anxious or stressed? Huh? Long inhale, short exhale, characteristic, anxiousness. Now let's try something else. Yeah? So think of your equal breath as a state of mental equilibrium. Samavritti, equal, minded. If the inhale is longer, the exhale is shorter, anxious. The exhale is longer, the inhale is shorter, depressed, worried. So I'm not giving you crazy, like nothing. It's very simple. When you notice your inhales are longer than your exhales, you just acknowledge, I am anxious. Just name it. Nothing else. I'm not giving you a path. I'm not saying anything. Just name it. Exhales are longer. I am feeling. Whatever that feeling is, name it. But the breath is a barometer for our attitudes. The breath is our barometer for our attitudes. So that's why we start in the Ashtanga practice by training the Ujjayi breath. You sharpen the knife so that when you cut down a tree, it's easy. A lot of people, when they come to me, they say, I didn't even know you're supposed to breathe in class, But slowly, with time, it becomes almost like there's no negotiation. The breath is more important than the shapes itself. Yeah, I'd like a volunteer to come for me. Anyone? Stand as you are. He's standing. Can you guys see what I see? Is his chin is about 3 to 4 inches forward. Then if I asked him, bring your head back into my hand, then where it is if it were here. Yeah, naturally, do that, just back to the old position. His chin, without doing anything, was 3 to 4 inches slightly forward in front of his, if I asked him to stand back into normal standing position. Now, this in itself indicates to me that he is the type of person, you can tell me I'm wrong. I want to make a big disclaimer before I do this. These are not definitive diagnoses. This is just so that you have swadhyaya. You have an ability to study your shapes and have some broad sense of what's happening. Now, if he came to me and his head was a little further back, like come back into my hand, there's some people, when they stand, they're just a bit more laid back. That would tell me they're in the past, they're just chilling, they're leaning back, their thoughts are kind of stuck somewhere behind in the past. Do you see how his thoughts racing into the future is embodied in his simple standing position? This is how powerful this is. This is how powerful correcting and standing in samasthiti he is. I had a student. I just asked her to stand and I fixed her samasthiti, and within seconds, she's coming as a different person to the mat. Her belly button is drawing in, the crown of her head is lifted. She's ready to move. So what can we do when we step on the mat? Stand again for me. When we step on the mat, start from the floor. Start with your heels. Make sure that your middle toe is in line with your heel. Middle toe He's in line with your heel. That in itself, he's pressing down through his feet a bit more. Now, from the ankles to the knees to the hips, he's going to try and stack his body masses as if he's stacking Jenga on top of each other. Then he's going to draw his belly button in, lift his chest, chin, crown of the head. He's just standing. But this will change the way that he does every single shape after this because he's ready. Yeah? Thank you so much.
Wow, you've made it more than halfway through the workshop, so well done. I hope you're getting lots of value from it, but I thought I'd quickly hop in here to say that if you want to go from being this passive recipient of your history to an active architect of your well-being, I'd love to see you inside one of my classes, inside the Yoga Mastery Program, a year-long journey that gives you the support and the structure that you need to make this an unshakable habit. I've created detailed learning modules so that you always know exactly what to do. You can do this either through group coaching, where I guide you from up to 3 live sessions a week, or if you're ready to take things to the next level and you want some personalized feedback, you can also do 6 weeks of private sessions with me and then enjoy the group classes for the rest of the year. But I'm here to guide you every step of the way. So sign up today to be a part of this dedicated community of serious practitioners so that you never feel like you're doing things all alone without any support. Now, back to the workshop.
I need another volunteer, guys. Yeah. Okay. So can you just pull forward for us? Okay. We have a flexible one here, so it's totally fine. Yeah. Just hold the shape for me. And guys, I want you to help me with this. Watch her shape. I just asked her to fold forwards. And what do you see? I gave you one clue, so what tendencies or emotional habits is she holding in this shape as you see it?
I don't know if she's got
Yes, exactly. Perfect. See, I don't even need to teach this workshop. You guys can do it. Now we can ask her. She can say it's absolutely not the case. Do you find it hard to let go, surrender, and relax?
Yes, I do.
So she, just so you know, guys, she had the base of her palms up. Now we're going to see what we can do within the asana to fix this tendency. So I'm going to ask her instead, Max, can I have 2 blocks? I'm going to ask her instead to think of the crown of her head meeting her bent knees. Bend your knees nicely for me. Bend your knees. Keep your feet a little further apart. Yeah. So now you're going to think of bringing the crown of your head into your bent knees. Bend more, bend more, bend more, bend more, bend more. Great. Now from this position, even without blocks, I can get her to press her base of her palms into the floor. Yes? So she didn't do anything different. I just asked her to bend the knees. Yeah? Now she's going to keep the crown of her head down. Straighten your legs. Look at that. Palms are flat. Full fold forwards. I didn't do anything. I didn't even teach her yoga. She's not my student. It's the first time I'm seeing her. Look how beautifully different that forward fold is. From just knowing what her head is doing, beautiful. Really nice. Thank you. As soon as I see a tendency, it's very often that something in their life is happening that's perpetuating that tendency as well. So as soon as I say it to them, they can then see where it's showing up. When we fix it in the posture, it gives them the confidence. I don't have to hold myself and not be able to relax. I can relax. If I can do it for 5 breaths in a shape, maybe I can do it in real life. So over time. Yeah? That's the thesis. That's the power of this. Endurance. I need another volunteer. One Surya Namaskar. You can come to the front of the mat. Do you need the blocks? No?
yes.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, come down. Inhale. Exhale. Observe the tendencies, guys. Don't think about the shapes he's making. Keep moving. Anything you like. Chaturanga, please. Nice. Beautiful. Very strong. Beautiful. Anyone? Tendencies that you observed? No, exactly as we are. It need not just be anxious or depressed. It can be more. Like, expand your vocabulary. I want you guys to really think. It doesn't have to be something that I think is right either. Maybe you see things that I don't. Very confident, yes. He knew exactly what he was doing. The one thing that I noticed, if you asked anyone else to come here and do this sun salutation, they would be put on a spot and they would do it much faster. Did you see how slow and patiently he took his time to do the shape? He wasn't rushing ahead. His breath wasn't behind his body. He wasn't trying to get through it. Some people won't even stay for 5 breaths in the downward dog. When I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, within 3, they'll step forward. The best indicator, and this is where it shows up. When you come into Chaturanga and you inhale, that's where most of my tendencies I can observe in the person. They're either rushing too quickly, they don't want to look at that thing that's difficult, or they just feel like, I don't want to do this today, or something is coming up. Endurance is the skill that we develop to have the same consistent effort through every single attempt. You're stretching the tank through the whole sequence. Your breath is leading your movement. You're able to see exactly when you inhale, your breath is leading the movement. Exactly when you exhale, your breath is leading the movement. Yeah? Now, I'm just going to do one fix and see if it changes anything. I'm going to ask him to breathe first, move second. Breathe first, then move. Exhale first, then move. He's still exhaling. Begin the inhale. Breathe first, then move. Begin the exhale. Nice. Beautiful. You see that last movement, guys? So smooth, so steady, so much better. Breathe before you move. Start the breath first. Allow the body to follow. Breath-led movement creates endurance in our bodies. Yeah? So I'm giving you tips, as you can see, for each category of asanas. Completely different, right? When you just step on the mat versus after you've been practicing a while. Next, let's look at shoulder and upper body engagement. Now, these are two different students of mine. The lady on the left says, I don't have strong shoulders. A lot of women have this complaint. I don't have strong shoulders. A lot of men have this complaint. I don't have mobile shoulders. I can't get my fingers to touch the floor like some of us can. So there's these two problems when it comes. I'm either too mobile and I don't have enough strength, or I'm too strong and I don't have enough mobility. What we want to do is find that razor's edge and balance these two extremes. Yeah? Okay, I need a volunteer. Perfect. So we're just going to ask you to bring your feet nice and wide, maybe to the side edge so they can see you. And then she's going to interlock her fingers and attempt to do the same exact position. Maybe a little bit wider with the feet. You've got a wide base. That's good. Right. Okay, guys, this is where she is. Just observe. Nothing else. Tendencies, patterns. What do you see? Excellent. That's exactly what I call. Let's start with not breathing. Are you the kind of person Like you could say no, absolutely no. That like she was perfect. Her stance was excellent. She entered it so well. She's got like meticulous planning. Everything is organized. But you hold your breath.
Yes.
Like you hold back in some way from just allowing, being, breathing. Stomach holding of the breath is one of the most common things we see as well. Even if we do perfect positions, on the outside, it looks like, wow, that's totally Instagram worthy. Inside, it can still be that the shape isn't sthira sukham asanam. It isn't effortless. It isn't light. It isn't creating the benefit that we want to see. So you guys also saw how much she was able to reach. Let's do a few drills and see if we can change that mobility a bit. I'm going to ask you to open out your hands like so. Nice and wide. Let's do this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rotate the thumb downwards, up and down. Okay, come to the wall for me. Press into the wall with both your wrists. Push from your middle back. Push, 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 push. Push away. Push into my hand. So make her do the opposite movement. Yeah, with her body. Excellent. Slowly come out. I'm going to do some elbow bends. Open out your hands. You bend the elbow like reverse cactus. Straighten. 2, 3. Last one. Okay, is she ready? Let's find out. Open. Turn it down. Pull upper arm rotated forwards. Bend the elbows. Now keep the elbows bent. Keep the shoulders high, shoulders high, shoulders high. Just take the bind. Now, as you take the bind, I want you to access your pinky finger. Keep this bent. Keep your feet nice and wide. Now draw your belly button in. Fold forwards. Fold forwards. Don't release. Don't release. Don't release. Keep drawing your belly button in. More. More. Now reach. Extend. Reach only with your pinky fingers forwards. Only with your pinky fingers forwards. Very nice. See how much strength there is. She was here. Power of progressive postures. If you did this in the sequence, you would have already done a few asanas before this. You'll be here by the time you come into the shape in your half primary sequence. Really good. That's really good. Huh? Very slowly, very gently come out. Amazing. Really nice. Next, hip mobility. Has anyone heard of, when you go to yin yoga classes and you say, I did pigeon pose and I started crying. Has anyone had that experience? No, genuinely, truthfully, yes. Anyone else believe that the emotions are stored in the hips? Put your hands up so I can see. 1, 2, 3. Still a few unconvinced. I would love to hear. Why do you think emotions are not stored in hips? Can't just blindly believe what yoga teachers say. We've got doctors in this room. Okay, you can just sit down on the floor for me. Everyone knows this butterfly position is very common. It's a very common hip opening position. And let's just see his butterfly. So, yeah, right? Awesome. This is a hard one. Let's see if we can make any difference at all. It's a very hard one. Huh? Hips take time. It's a long process of actually improving. But let's see. So we've got his knees, which are about a little over a block distance away from the floor, just so we have a measure. And he's got a really good, strong back. His posture is nice. Shall we ask him to fold forward so we can see? Just gently fold towards your feet. Stop. What do you see? Knees are coming up, even further up. Yes, good. Excellent catch. Emotionally, what tendency do you see? Exactly. Okay, we'll stop there because that's perfect. The knees which came higher up when he tried to go deeper into the position, which means that the body has a natural tendency to back off when it's in a state of end range of its stretch. It doesn't want to go there. It doesn't want to stay at the edge of the stretch. So the knees come up to compensate, to say, okay, you're safe, you're fine. The second thing that was noticed was this rounded back. A lot of us can do this without having a rounded back, but we're just observing. Now, this rounded back translates into armoring of the heart. So like a protection from vulnerability, inability to like truly be vulnerable and yield and surrender. This rounded back is characteristic of armoring of the heart, protecting the heart without expressing opening as you come down. It need not be that just because he's holding the shape, he's feeling a certain way. It can also be that the disconnect is the thing that you look at. Does this make sense, guys? If your body is taking a certain shape, and if you investigate it and you say, okay, I'm not armoring, I'm open to new experiences, I'm doing this, what other thing can we investigate as we eliminate? You say, this couldn't be it. What could it be that's preventing me from going a little further? There's a like you want to hide something, you want to protect your heart, you want to use your rib cage to hold it. But physically, we can still do things to improve his posture. So first thing is I'm going to ask him to just sit on top of a block. Yeah. So the feet are still together. Now, what's happening is he's unable to access the length from this part to this part as he folds down. So if he folds down just like this, just watch these 2 points. Exhale, come down. See that? It's not as long as we could get him to be, but he's already pushing more forward. He's already using his back extensor muscles to reach more forwards. And see, it's probably less than. It's not coming up. It's just about the height of a block. Yeah? Slight improvement. Right. Now slowly inhale, come up. I want you to shift a little further forward on the block. Whenever you're struggling with seated positions that require hip opening or forward bending, sit on top of a block, sit at the edge of the block, and think of tilting your pelvic bowl forwards towards your feet. First, start with the tilt and lift your arms up. Start and give me your arms. Nice. So what we're going to do, you can hold on to me. So what we're going to do now is get him to release that part of the back. He's tilting his pelvis and accessing that part of his middle back that he previously wasn't able to access because he was going straight down. Do you see that? This is the first step. To be able to bring awareness to parts that are sleeping. This is also the whole practice of yoga. Now from here, you're going to reach, 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 reach. Nice. See that? He's releasing his tension. His body is shaking. He's releasing. His body is shaking. Superb, right? See his knees. Inhale. Wow. Exhale. How did that feel? Of course. His hips didn't open in 5 minutes. I didn't do anything to make his legs or his hips open. I didn't do anything. I accessed a different part of his body that wasn't doing the work. This is what the power of practice is. You find which parts can compensate and work so that other parts can take their time. They don't have to open up so quickly. Yeah? So here we used his back, his middle back, to compensate for his hip mobility. And that's why when we come to more complex positions like this one, where we have to take a bind, we've done the previous work. We've accessed the length in our backs so that we can add a bind to a hip mobility to a forward fold. That's all more difficult shapes. You're just layering more and more skills one on top of the other.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yes.
About the feelings.
Yes.
When you ask the people that agree that the emotions are stored there, I kind of want to say no, but actually I don't agree, all agree. I just realized then that I'm not as educated on that point.
Yeah.
I just want to find out what is the theory behind that. If you could just give me a short definition.
Sure. Basically, we can't say emotions are stored in any one place. I can't really say physically, realistically. That doesn't make any sense. It's not scientific. To say, like, if I do a forward fold or open up my hips, then I'm going to start crying. But we see correlations repeatedly with pent-up emotions being released through the process of asana. What we can take away from this, if I do yin yoga and open up my hips, I cry, is it's a systematic way of releasing the long-held tensions that we store in our body through specific shapes, specific asanas. And I'd actually love to hear, I have this perspective, but if anyone else wants to share, what is the theory? Are emotions stored in the hips or not?
So your stomach muscles are one of the biggest muscles of your body. So in the state of the nervous system, if your plant is flat, adrenaline is pumping to your muscles to feed that so you can run away. If you constantly have plant is flat, you're constantly tensing those muscles because you're telling your body I need to be ready to run and go. But in our everyday life, like sitting here now, you shouldn't be tense. You say, but if your nervous system is in fight or flight, those muscles are going to be building tension constantly, even though you don't actually need it to quickly run and get up.
Thank you.
That's the stage that all of this gives us awareness. Ultimately, what's in our control in the practice is to do things like use different parts, breathe into that part, work on strength. Those are the actions that we can do. We can't like point to point say cause and effect. We can't say I'm hurt, therefore my hips are not open. Like he said, this doesn't land. And I'm so glad there's at least one person that said that, because that is often the case. It's not a point-to-point correlation. It's broadly paying attention to our emotions and getting awareness, and then working on them specifically through the practice of systematically stretching and strengthening. Next one, of course. Anyone else? Need a volunteer. Need a volunteer. Come. Yeah. I'm going to ask you just to lift your knee up. And maybe hold your toes with all fingers and stretch it straight in front of you. Beautiful. Hold. Just watch, guys. Just watch. Beautiful. Did you notice anything? The first time she did it, we always take only like, bare first time, just trying it, like it's fresh. Besides the shaking. The shaking tells the story. It's not bad to shake at all. You have lots of experience with this pose and overcoming it. What is the tendency that like you saw initially when she tried to get into the shape?
I feel like the posture doesn't stay. She also comes forward.
Oh, there we go. Excellent. The first thing was, as soon as she did, she was unsure about the shape and the body took a bit of hesitation. Once she did it, she was strong and she was like, I can do this. I'm a concentrated person. So it looks like you've got your ducks in a row. You're really like there, but there's a bit of like hesitation. And sometimes, like if there isn't like strong enough boundaries, you also yield instead of staying in your center, staying in your power, being able to hold yourself in that position. So the two things are like a little bit of hesitation initially, like hesitation to try, hesitation to do hesitation in the body, and going with others rather than staying in yourself, staying contained. Does that land? No? Yeah. Which means, guys, it's showing up in all your shapes. Do you see what I'm saying? Those tendencies are showing up in all your shapes. So now let's see what we can do to correct her two things, her hesitation and the ability to stay back in her center rather than yield or move to someone else's demands. Now, I'm going to ask you, this is a ring. You can get this on Take a Lot. You can loop the ring on top of your foot. The same hand, same leg. Good. Now stay here. Before she even attempts to do an action, what if she decides she's got her drishti first, so find a single point in front of you to focus on. You can look at this block. Yeah. So she gives herself a name. She prepares herself by first finding, lift the chin up here. Just look ahead. And then she's really trying to draw her belly button in. This is your center axis. Now look at the block. Stay there. Stay in your center, breathing into the back of your heart. Let the breath come up from the belly button into the back of your heart. Breathe into my hand. Now she's getting props and help. She's going to use her other hand as a counterbalance. She's fixed her aim. She's got the support she needs. She's in her power. Now kick strong into this leg and straighten the other one. Pay attention to your ankle and the drishti block. Beautiful. Hold, chin up. 5, 4. Now pull with your shoulder backwards and up. 3, 2, 1. Exhale, release. Straight legs, much less shakiness. She knows what she's doing. Steady. How does the second one feel?
Much better.
Yeah, so that's the thing that we invite in. Now that we know what the posture has shown us, we ensure that those lessons are integrated into our daily lives. Awesome, thank you so much. Yeah. Next, we've got core strength and stability. Now, core strength is not something that you're naturally born with. It's a trained thing. Like a lot of women find it hard to do Navasana, which is this position, this boat position. Hold it for a long time, find strength and find joy in something like core work. Now, core work is one of those things that makes you alert super quickly. Even in the morning, if you need to get to work and you've got literally 7 minutes, do some core work. It'll make you alert. It's like this one thing that connects everything else. Like picking up an object, putting it, like reaching, getting out of a bus, every single action that we need relies on having this core strength. This strong abdominal muscle. Now, everyone has abs, right? Like everyone has these muscles. Some of us have trained them in a specific way to be able to take more stress. Others of us haven't done that just yet. Can I have a volunteer? Come. And just hold here. Awesome. So just observe. I'm going to ask her now in 3, 2, 1 to straighten. Hold. Very strong. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I was just testing, just playing with her. No, but that was very strong. Yeah? That was damn good. Can we have a different volunteer? I'm kidding. There's always room for improvement. And when we think, we've dealt with the position, we can do it really well, we can execute it really well, this is again a beautiful opportunity to see what's underneath the perfect execution of the shape. What is the tendency that's underlying perfect execution of things? And anyone notice? I noticed one thing. Did anyone notice anything at all? Tendencies, things that came up? Yeah. The legs were shaking in the extremities, right? Now, when she came here, she actually said, I don't have core strength. Obviously, we all think she's lying, right? That was incredible core strength. I have to work on it. Even though seemingly her pose was perfect, she had her legs straight, self-perception is still there. I can work on it. I've got more to improve. That is the tendency. Do you guys see that? She's got beautiful execution of the posture. Somewhere this judgment of, I need to be better, I need to do better, I can do better. There is more to improve. There's always room to improve. Even though she's so beautiful, her pose was like excellent, right? But in that case, when she's already doing it well and she's noticing this pattern, what can we actually give to help her work on that tendency as well as the shape. Any ideas? It's to actually challenge her to do a simpler version and see what that shifts inside her. A simpler version to focus on a skill that we're going to look at. Yeah? So we're going to just ask you to squeeze the block between your knees. And then you're going to lean backwards, go really, really far back, even further back, even further back, even further back. Good. Now keep your hands lifted. Now we're going to say, okay, this is a harder position to lift from. Yeah, I've made it more challenging for her. Lift up. Good. I'm going to bring it slightly in so that you've got some grip. Now that she's squeezing and rotating her thighs inwards, she now sees this as two challenges. From her hips to her knees is the first challenge. From her knees to the toes is a second challenge. The tendency when we think, oh yeah, I've got so much to do and I can improve, is to say from where to where do I actually need to improve and can I make it easier? So we've made it easier by giving her a block, asking her to like not yet straighten the legs. She's not doing the straight legs version. And now we're going to break it down to her and give her the actual confidence. This is exactly what I need to improve on, which is from your knees to your toes. I'm going to need 1 or 2 more blocks. So now we know what the issue is. We know that she needs to make it simpler for herself and work on only the challenging part, that part of it that's challenging, which is to go from, lift your legs up so I can check your height, which is to go from this position, touch, okay, move your legs off to this position, right? So I'm visually going to give her a sense. She's going to bend her knees, come back to the half boat pose. She's going to touch here. Now, she's going to straighten her legs and reach here. Bend her knees, halfway, straighten, reach. Bend her knees, halfway. See, she's not shaking as much at all. See that? Bend her knees. You're doing it many times also. Reach through your toes. There we go. Bend the knees. Last one. Straighten. And relax. So when you said, I need to work on my core strength, you don't need to work on like lots of things. You need to identify what is the 1% that's missing. Only when you see that in your practice, only when you can see those weaknesses, that exact 1% that she needs to work on, will she start to feel like, okay, I'm making progress. I'm enjoying this. I'm not just either naturally good at something or I'm not, and I have lots of work to do. She can see that visual shift between where she is and where she needs to be. Okay. Final one is spinal strength and spinal flexibility. Now, all positions are fundamentally stabilizing the limbs and working with the spine. Now, you might have heard of Kundalini Yoga. What is the process of Kundalini? Anyone? So there is this dormant energy within all of us. Awakening it and moving it through the center axis, through the spine, is one route to reaching that state of bliss, that state of enlightenment that we spoke about earlier, that final 8th stage. One way through Hatha Yoga practices, as described, is working with your spine and your spinal energy. But on a very practical sense, the strength of your spine and your health of your spine determines how old you feel. Yeah, the strength of your spine determines how upright you can sit, many positions that you can or cannot do, aches and pains in the body, and free flow of prana. Free flow of prana is the most, it's like the apex reason to concentrate on spinal flexibility. But as you can see, guys, we worked on the breath, leg strength and flexibility. We did all the grounding work, opening up the shoulders. We did all the other things. And finally, we've come to working with our back bends, our spine, moving our spine in different directions. Can I have one more volunteer, guys? Yeah. Beautiful. See, she's good. All the people coming here are good. Okay, awesome. Guys, just look at her posture. Breathe, Jamie. 5 breaths at least. What do you see? Whenever you feel ready to come out, you can. Beautiful.
Stillness, stability, and full extension of the back.
Exactly. Stillness, stability, full extension of the back. That's actually a really beautiful camel. Anyone else? So it shows how open she is as a personality, extremely open, right? Fluid open back, upper back completely. Even her neck, even the crown of her head was able to go all the way. Anyone else saw anything?
I like how she-
Graceful, like beautiful. That's the way Jamie is. Have you guys seen Manifest branding? Like everything needs to look beautiful. It needs to flow into one another. It needs to be open and inviting. That's Jamie. I mean, I know Jamie, so I can say that's true. But what's missing? What's missing in the shape? What is the rasa of the shape that she's missing? Driving the hips more forward. Anyone else? Like, watch her shoulders. Do you see how the head of the shoulder is so open that her neck is actually almost pinching the two nerves that run across from here to here? Slowly, gently come out. I just wanted to show you that. Often when we're this open, we're also likely to give too much, to overextend ourselves beyond what we choose, right? But the element that's missing is that masculine structure, stability, like strength, holding the shoulders, pushing the hips forward, working on that spine, controlling the neck, having control over that level of flexibility, having control over that level of openness in her life, being able to draw boundaries, stick to plans, hold her own. Now let's look at a few fixes that we can do to help us shift this state in the posture. The first one, like I pointed out, is just this neck opening up. For a lot of us, easy tendency is to drop the neck back like so. So I want her to think she's almost got like toothpicks from her chin all the way to her collarbone. And instead of dropping the head back, I want you to think of stretching the front of your throat. Let's see that. Just keep the chin in, keep the chin in. Yeah, good. Now, think of, instead of allowing your head to drop back entirely, think of stretching the front of your throat. Now, already her head is supported much better. Stretch the front of your throat. And imagine two toothpicks right here. Bring the chin slightly in. Almost countering and forcing herself to overcome the tendency of opening too much, giving too much. Now, if she said her thighs are taking a lot of the strain, instead, if I asked her, come on top of your knees, keep your feet hip width apart, a little further with the backs of your feet. Now, guys, you think it's in the thighs. You think the problem is actually in her thighs. I would argue it's much further back down in the chain that she's not pressing through her big toes. Just as when we did that forward fold with Baddha Konasana for him, it wasn't really his hips. For Jamie, it's not really her thighs. It's actually this grounding of this big toe and initiating this strength through her hips from the big toe. Keep pushing the hips forwards. Keep the head of the shoulders facing forwards. Hands forward. Right? Now this is Jamie doing the same position but with strength. Now chin, stretch the front of the throat. Keep holding strength. You're not flexible. You're strong. That's it. Now take one hand behind and the other one. And minimize the rotation of the shoulders. Keep pressing through the toes. See, only her pressing through the toes changes the entire position. She's much stronger. Shoulders are much stronger. Test her thighs. Much stronger. Very slowly come out. Her breath is also softer.
Slightly better. How did that feel before? Yeah. Yeah. You forget about your toes.
Basically that. Makes such a difference.
These are the skills that we look at. So just to remind you once again, we're just going to do a recap now. If we can take a magnifying glass, look at each of these areas, fix these little things, niggles that are happening in the shapes. We then show up in the world differently, and we look at our tendencies once. Yeah. So just to summarize, asana is philosophy in action. So when I title this workshop Philosophy of Posture, it's for this reason. If we understand the theory behind the shapes, why we do the shapes, we then see how a posture creates a feeling, but a feeling also creates, holds, sustains in your postures. So what do we need to do to intercept this bi-directional thing? We must introduce asana as a tool for transformation. We must use asana as a systematic way to stretch and strengthen our bodies, to intercept this constantly, so that we're not walking around with yesterday's emotions. Yeah? Coming to tomorrow, the day after International Yoga Day, or the Monday after International Yoga Day. What happens is there's inspiration, everybody's excited, then life happens, and we forget about yoga. So that's why I like to show you these different stages of the journey. If you've never stepped on the mat, tell me how many of you are this is the first time stepping on the mat? Perfect. So everyone's crossed this first hurdle already, which is fantastic. The first stage is you keep putting it off. You tell yourself you're going to step on the mat, but you've never done it. It's just an idea. It sounds good, but I've never done it. Most of us have already crossed that stage by being here. So stage 2 is you step on the mat for the first time, or for the first time after a long time. You've come to a class. This stage is a touch and go stage. It's very fragile. The habit isn't fixed yet. It isn't steady. It's not like it's really going to produce these transformative benefits yet. So when people say yoga can reduce stress, yoga can cure illnesses, yoga can do this, yoga can do that, is it a lie? Or are we just not in that stage yet to experience those benefits? Let's be honest with ourselves of where we are and work from that. So only work from going from stage 2 to stage 3. If this is the first time you stepped on the mat, make the effort to practice 1 to 2 times per week. Maybe that means booking into a class and showing up 1 to 2 times per week. Do not think you can practice 5 times a week or 6 times a week or every day for the rest of your life before this is consistently part of your life. Ensure that from not practicing at all, you come to the mat today. From today, ensure that you can consistently, given life's ups and downs, practice 1 to 2 times a week. Acknowledge that as a milestone. It's very, very hard to practice 1 to 2 times a week, given how busy life is. If you can do that, you've already overcome so much resistance in yourself and self-doubt to be able to practice 1 to 2 times a week. But that does not mean you will experience changes, shifts, progress. So many people remain stuck in stage 3 because they're only practicing 1 to 2 times per week. They only practice with their teacher 1 time per week, 2 times per week. You can do this for years. I'm not looking at anyone here. Students who come to my class 1 time a week. But you must practice on your own or go to more classes. We've got a schedule 6 days a week. Come to more classes. The reason is from stage 3 to stage 4 is the hardest effort. It's like, now I've got to prioritize this. Until then, it was just kind of like a side activity, something I do, okay, fine. If I don't do, also it's okay. Stage 4 is when you become consistent. That's when you start to glimpse progress. That's when you start to see shifts in your body, the way that you're relating to the world, everything else. Stage 5 is when you can expect to look at these 8 key areas. Look at your flexibility. Look at your back bendability. Only when you're consistently doing everything else. The reason is you start getting pains. If you only practice 1 to 2 times a week, make it intense, you will experience pains. You won't make much progress. It'll put you off long term. Long story short, practice to the intensity that you can handle and slowly work from that 1 to 2 times a week. First, establish 1 to 2 times a week consistently. Once you've established 1 to 2 times a week, consistency I define as 4 times per week, 45 minutes per session, or 3 times per week, 60 minutes per session. This is my definition of consistency because I've seen that this is where people start to notice shifts. It could be different for you. Your consistency could still mean 1 to 2 times a week and you're consistent with that. But maybe your consistency looks like every day of the week. You see how I've stopped talking about how many more times you're stepping on the mat after this point. After this point, even if you practice every single day, you could be doing it mundane, routine, not having the guidance of a teacher, just doing it rote, not getting anywhere. And still 6 years, 10 years down the line, I'll come back to you and you'll still be having the same issues in your body, same mental things that you're carrying around. Once we establish consistency, it's time for us to look at the weaknesses. Time for us to look at all of these areas that are showing us something. Only then can we really truly embark on that journey. Before that, first time I step on the mat, if I want to cry in pigeon pose and experience great relief, you might do that. Next day, what happens? Do you have pains? Do you come back to the mat? Or do you quit? Once you've done the real inner work, is when you experience true state of the asana. When I titled this workshop, Philosophy of Posture, I want to help you experience what I've experienced, which is the state of steadiness and ease in a shape. A state of being able to put your body in increasingly difficult, challenging positions and still be able to breathe through them, just as with life. To be able to see the shape, but see through the shape and see that as an impermanent, changing, fluctuating thing. To do the shape and to feel inside your heart that I'm not forcing my body, I just am. To just be, to just exist. That is yoga. Having said all of this, if I waved a magic wand, what would life look like? If you had a systematic way of saying physically healthy, I've now given you one simple roadmap. You don't have to follow my roadmap, but it's an idea. If you had the space and stillness for self-inquiry because you knew what you were doing, these are the things that you're looking at. And if you had more energy. Big promises I'm making, huh? What would life look like? Let's take just 60 seconds to close our eyes. Just visualize this state. In these last few moments, just to allow it to imprint upon your whole body, this feeling state. When you're ready, very slowly and gently, you can open your eyes. So where do we go from here? Remember to breathe deeply as a starting point. Remember that your posture reflects your attitude, the way that you sit, the way you drive, the way you scroll, the way you relate to the world, fundamentally arises out of your nervous system. If we know, we have the knowledge, we know what to do, and do it. That being said, it's also my duty to tell you how to practice with us. I teach at Manifest Yoga Studio on Tuesdays and Fridays in the mornings, 6 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. I know it's a hard time, but again, like I said, adhikari, that is your qualification. If you want real transformative benefits of this type of practice, you've got to sacrifice something to be on the mat at that time. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe still stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. We're always here to support, but you can check us out on the app and please join a class and continue practicing. And yeah, thank you.
And just like that, our 2 hours together on the philosophy of posture has come to an end. And my hope is that you're leaving with a new lens through which to view your body and your practice. We've established that your posture is a direct reflection of your mind, and your mind is also influenced by your posture. So this is kind of like a continuous loop that you can intercept and rewrite using the wisdom of asana. Through our demonstrations, we touched on the essentials, the power of breath, the foundation of leg strength and stability, the resilience of endurance, the openness that you need in your shoulders and hips, talked about the balance and core, and also the importance of a flexible spine. But if you'd like to continue this journey with my guidance, be sure to check out the link in the description. But as you step off the mat tomorrow and go back into the world, carry this awareness with you. Notice your postures and know that you can make yoga philosophy in action. Thank you for taking the time to watch to the very end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Namaste.